Hello, good morning. For those of you who don't know me, my name's Dave. Good to see you. I'm one of the people here at church. Today I'm going to be doing the obvious thing, and I'm going to be making tiffin, or as our transatlantic and Antipodean cousins call it, Rocky Road. They're basically the same thing. Some people might disagree with that, but basically they're the same thing. Bit of quick history about the whole Rocky Road tiffin thing. Tiffin appears to have been invented in Troon in Scotland in about 1900. That's pretty much it on the history of tiffin. Pretty much it on the history of Troon as well. A town where not a huge amount has happened. Frankly, not anyone very famous has been born there. Andrew Cotter is probably the most famous son of Troon. You'll have heard him commentate on the Winter Olympics, if you watched any Winter Olympics this year. Rocky Road, on the other hand, has got some history. Goes back all the way to 1853 in Australia, where it was created, apparently, to sell confectionery that had spoiled during the long trip from Europe. Don't know why they didn't create their own. These effectively inedible sweets were mixed with nuts and cheap chocolate to, and I quote, disguise the flavor. Yum. So for those of you who are unaware of Rocky Road or tiffin, it's basically a fridge cake. So you don't bake it. It's a combination of melted chocolate and butter, syrup, various biscuits, sweet things, all jumbled up together and then left to set. It's a lovely, tasty treat. And I have all of those things over here. So give me a second whilst I set up. Nearly there. Right then. So, in front of me, you'll see I have got butter, golden syrup, a lot of chocolate, both dark and milk, mini marshmallows. What else have we got in here? Raisins, or sultanas in this case, because we don't have any raisins, so just went with sultanas. Dried cranberries, glacé cherries, candied mixed peel, Maltesers, yeah, and malted milk biscuits. Then the boring bits, spoons and a knife. And, last but not least, a dish. So, first up, I'm going to make the sticky, chocolatey, messy bit. And in a couple of minutes, I'm going to need someone to run through to the kitchen and put a bit of this mixture in the microwave. Yes, genuinely, we're making tiffin. And so if you do get bored in sermons, then this is the opportunity to offer to help in the sermon, but also, you look quite good, that's really good. Also, you don't actually have to listen to that bit of the sermon. So, bit of a win-win. Sorry? Later on, hopefully. So, I'll just wash my hands. This bit does feel a bit like communion, doesn't it? Not that I'm allowed to do this bit. Right, that's not a dig, by the way. So, first up, we're going to take the butter. Normal butter. Over here, just normal, regular butter. Some of you are there going, is he really going to go through with this? Yes, absolutely. So, I'm going to take the butter. I was one away from being on Bake Off, yes. Yeah. This is it. So, we're going to go in there. So we're going to put in 175 grams of butter. And I have got my scales, but I've already started putting it in the bowl, so we're just going to guess. There we go. Then, 5 teaspoons of golden syrup. Little trick with golden syrup. Grease your spoon before you pour it on. Then it will roll off nice and easily. Little tip. That's what doesn't get you on Bake Off, that sort of information. So, 5 tablespoons rather, of golden syrup. Look at that. That's ludicrous, isn't it, golden syrup? Just rolls off. 2, 3, 4, 5. Good enough. Right. Then, the healthy part. 650 grams of chocolate. There we go. Smash it up a bit. Lob it in. You don't need to be very careful with this. As you can see. Anyone who's tuned in online, yes, this is church. You've not just tuned in to Sunday morning brunch or whatever it's called. That's 300. That's 500. Let's go with a bit more milk chocolate. I always prefer milk chocolate. And yeah, let's say that's about right. So, now I need that volunteer who doesn't like listening to sermons. Alistair. So if you could, there's a spoon, just melt that down, that'd be great. Try not to burn it. That'd be a nightmare. So, bye Alistair, see you in a few minutes. Good. So whilst we wait for the melty goodness, let's have a look through the rest of these ingredients. I'll just do a bit of clearing up. It's never good to have a messy workbench. That's what they say, apparently. So, marshmallows first. For me, I appreciate I'm a bit of an outlier when it comes to marshmallows, but I could leave the marshmallows out of Rocky Road. They don't really do it for me. They're fine. I don't have an issue with them. They're just not really me. I think what it is that when you bite through a rocky road, everything is quite firm and crunchy, and then you come across a marshmallow, and it's a totally different experience. It's soft and sticky. It gets you out of your eating groove. It's sort of weirdly on edge for me when I find a marshmallow in my bit of rocky road. But lots of people like them, so fair enough. We'll keep them in. Raisins or sultanas. Often seen as quite dull. Raisins. It's just a raisin or a sultana. They're really super sweet. They properly pack a punch, does a raisin. But I think we're a bit overindulged with raisins to appreciate just how good a raisin is. They're basically in every festival-based food stuff. Hot cross buns, simnel cake, Christmas cake, mince pies, Christmas pudding. Not sure there are any other types of festival foods, but every festival food has raisins or sultanas in them. Garibaldi biscuits, they have lots of raisins, don't they? They must be for a festival. I don't know why you would create them for any other reason. What I'm saying is raisins are everywhere. They're in all of the things we make. They're 10 a penny. Next up, Cranberries. Basically, slightly bitter raisins, sort of. Same sort of thing, really, just a bit different. Slightly more astringent effect, a bit sharper in the back of the mouth. And I think with cranberries, they're sort of a foodstuff that's come of age in the last few decades. I don't think I knew what a cranberry was when I was a kid, other than it came in a jar and you had it with turkey on Christmas Day. That was the only time a cranberry existed. But now, they're properly everywhere again. You know, it's like, ooh, here's a thing. Next up. When is a fruit not actually a fruit? When it's a glacé cherry. These are ridiculous. You take an actual piece of fruit and then you douse it for ages in sugar, in a sugar syrup, and then you come up with this. And it means that the cherry lasts forever. But it's so far removed from the original concept of this fruit. I don't really understand why we call it a cherry. But it does keep for an enormous amount of time, and they're super sweet. Mixed peel, love a bit of candied mixed peel. Candied mixed peel is like a glacé cherry, except you start with something inedible, the peel of lemons and oranges. Then you do the whole dousing in sugar thing, and you end up with something lovely. So it sort of makes sense then. If you met mixed peel when it was young, it'd be horrible and bitter. But it's grown up a bit now. It's been doused in sugar. It's lovely and sweet. So I've got a lot of time for mixed peel. King of chocolate snacks, are we saying? Maltesers? I think so. To me, the Malteser is top dog when it comes to chocolate snacks. On any given day, this would be in my top 3 of thing to just consume literally by the bucket load. Maltesers are a drug to me, basically. Finally, malted milk biscuits. Now, these are often overlooked in the biscuit aisle, I feel, the malted milk. They're not your glamorous biscuit with thick chocolate or layers of different flavors. But also, they're not your sort of common or garden type biscuit, a custard cream or a digestive. These are just a solid biscuit. And yet, I would say, every time I have a malted milk, I think I'm slightly taken aback by just how much they bring to the table. It's a great biscuit. It's very simple. I mean, just because you put a cow on the top of it doesn't make them sort of complicated or glamorous. But, it also has a bit of a weird name, malted milk. What? But yeah, great little biscuit. So, now we wait for our chocolatey goodness to come. But first, we can throw all of these wonderful ingredients into our dish. As Ali is he's probably just sat back going, oh, I don't need to listen to the rest of this. Great. I'll just sit here and wait for him. So, we're going to put in, where's my ingredients list gone? Here we are. All of these malted milks. And we need to break them up a bit, so that it's not just like massive layers of malted milk. So we'll just break them up a bit. Lovely. And actually, quite usefully for this dish, malted milks just do sort of crumble quite nice and easily. So there we go. They're all broken down, which is good. Maltesers, they're going in next. Leave some more for later. Here comes Alistair. Look at this, perfect timing. Now, wonderful. Look at that, it's perfect. Everyone, round of applause, Alistair, for melting some chocolate in a microwave. So we're going to throw some more of these in. So, here goes some sultanas. Lovely. Here goes if I can open them. There we go. Cranberries. Lovely. They do have a tendency to stick together, but then you kind of get like a cheeky clump of cranberry, and that might be quite nice in a tiffin. Then, some mixed peel. That'll do. Some glacé cherries. Not a fan of the glacé cherry. Wow. And then, finally, which is the marshmallow. Ugh. Right. Look at this. Yes. Yes, please. Look at that. That is fantastic. Butter, sugar, butter, syrup, and chocolate. Be quite a nice bath, that, wouldn't it? I mean, it'd be awful, but brilliant. Right, so mix this all together. And that chocolatey, syrupy goodness is just going to glue it all together. Look at that. That is awful, in a great way. And then, that is it, pretty much made. We're just going to put it in here. Less gloopy this time. And squash it down. And then, Alistair, I need to call on you again. This time to just go and lob this in the fridge. There we go. That's going to go in the fridge. I'll just clean my hands, because they're now covered in chocolate. See, each of these ingredients are great. I would happily eat any of this neat on its own. To be fair, probably not so much just eating butter, although Thea does like doing that, or indeed the golden syrup, which might get a bit sweet. But if I needed to, I would. They're all individually great bits of food, in mainly all quite sweet ways. Not a lot of savory flavors going on here, but they're different levels of sweet. They're different ways of sweet. If you were to just have one, if you could only eat candied mixed peel on its own forever, you'd very quickly get bored of that flavor. And you'd probably get quite sick quite quickly as well. You'd certainly have enough of it after a little while. So maybe you need a bit more variation in life, not just one flavor. Maybe you need to be able to eat all of these ingredients just a little bit, individually whenever you want. But even then, you'd still be missing out. One day you'd eat raisins, the next day you'd eat marshmallows, the next day you'd have some chocolate. See, all of these ingredients are great, but when you mix them together, that's when they really start to shine. When you melt the chocolate and the syrup with the butter, that creaminess from the butter just knocks the edge off the syrup and the chocolate. You know, that harsh sweetness that you get from processed sugar is just mellowed by that wonderful dairy creaminess of butter. But if you just had a big block of melted chocolate, butter, and syrup, it would get so cloying in your mouth. I mean, it'd be great and lovely for a bit, but after a while, you'd just be And that's where the fruit comes in, to break up and add some fruity bitterness to proceedings. Then the biscuits and the Maltesers, they're bringing crunch to the party. Even the marshmallows, that I'm not really a fan of, but here they do make sense, because they're light, they add like a bit of breath into the experience. Now, some of you will have sort of seen where this whole thing has been going for a while now. Others, you might be like, has Dave gone wrong? Do we need to reboot him? What is he talking about? Rocky Road is good here we go, because when you bring all the ingredients together, they all shine. It becomes more than the sum of its parts. This is what the church should be like. A place where all people can come and play their part. Be the person who God has called you to be. Where people of all backgrounds, races, ages, skill sets, whatever it might be, whatever the difference is, the church should be a place where all can come and be welcome. And in doing so, in joining together, coming together, we share in one another's qualities and characteristics, and all are made more Christ-like in that process. That sharing of our diversity, that giving of ourselves to the community by coming and sharing together, that is a foretaste of the new heaven and new earth and the culmination of God's kingdom coming here on earth as it is in heaven. Now, look around. It's clear that we as a church are not as diverse as we should be. A church should be the product of its neighborhood. Our neighborhood is more diverse than this church represents. And I'm not just talking about race here, just to make that very clear, although very obviously we are also not particularly very racially diverse. And that's something that should be raising questions about our ministry. We are quite age diverse. We have people worshipping in this church from every age category. Not every church can say that. And that sharing, that giving of ourselves to form that diverse age profile is a real joy to many, if not all of us in this church. In being able to worship with people of all ages, we are drawn closer to each other and to God. So where do we go from here? Well, let's make some good rocky road. I mean it. That means letting everyone shine with the qualities and characteristics that are given to each of us. Helping everyone feel welcome for who they are in this place. God's people together. Being thankful and thanking one another for what we all bring to this church. That's how we do it. And this is not just about thanking the people who quite obviously do stuff up front or do things with the kids' work or that sort of thing. It's about thanking everyone. We are the church. By being here, we come together to be us, the church. So for me, that means valuing and loving the marshmallow people of the church. The people who I just don't really get. Maybe for you, someone is a bit of a glacé cherry. Someone's like, right, are you, Alistair? I didn't even know you didn't like glacé cherries, but this is great. You know, maybe those glacé cherry people, they're a bit much. They're a bit intense. You sort of wish they'd tone it down a bit. But maybe you're the chocolatey, syrupy, buttery loveliness that can envelop them, helping them come closer to others in the church. You know, of course, sometimes we need a bit of crunch as well, right? A person who's a bit, they shake things up a bit, don't they? Now, I can take this analogy further, but that would probably go a bit too far. But you get the idea, right? The best way to help people feel welcome and comfortable, to be themselves in this place, is to be generous in our thankfulness. So that's my challenge to you today. Number one, make some rocky road, either churchy or actually. You know, it's up to you. Frankly, maybe do both. But number two, who are you going to thank for being part of this community? That's it. That's the challenge today. No major life decision, no big call to arms or that sort of thing. Just simply say to one person or more, it's up to you, something like, thank you for being part of this church. I really like that you're here. The fact that you're here makes it feel more like church to me. When was the last time someone said that to you in church? I'm not entirely sure, anyone's ever said that to me in church as explicitly as that. But I reckon when we look around and we see each other around us, we're thankful that we're all here together. So, today, this week, in the weeks to come, let's take those 10 seconds to just say, thanks for being at church with us. It's great that you're here. And hopefully, by the end of the service, there'll be some Rocky Road that can come out of the fridge and we can eat some. So, there we go.